In SML Beginnings, I said that was the last video I had planned this summer. I never said it was the last video I was going to make this summer. Anyways, what do I think about the MCU? I think it was mostly great. There are a ton of classic movies. But at the same time, there are some that could use some work. So, let's get on with this list, shall we? Rules. Only movies I've seen, and these are my opinions. Also, 2 PSs. None of these movies, except for the number 1, are bad. If you like these films, then great. I just didn't get as much out of them as you did. And why is this a top 5? Well, I found it impossible to make it a top 10, so this is why. Largely because there are so many classic MCU movies. So let's get on with this, shall we? Number 5, Avengers Infinity War. A lot of people are going to hate me for this. This one was meh. All of the fight scenes are good, and I can't deny that the ending was awesome. But everything else about this movie was okay. The main reason why this film is on this list is because it was a letdown. The title made me think the Avengers were going to use the stones against Thanos, and they didn't. And even Thanos says it to Doctor Strange's face at one point. I just didn't feel like the Avengers, with the possible exception of Thor, were even trying. That fact alone about this movie pissed me off. There are a ton of classic MCU films, but Infinity War just isn't one of them. Not to say that there isn't funny moments, like the opening scene was awesome. Also, the end, like I said, the ending was awesome, and all the fight scenes were good in that one. Anyways, number 4, Iron Man 2. This is the only MCU film I didn't like Rhodey in. The villain sucked, and surprisingly, Tony Stark didn't redeem this movie. Honestly, the only redeeming quality about this film was the final battle. Other than that, there isn't much to say about this film. And now we're on to number 3, Thor. What can I say about this film? It was so boring, I stopped watching it halfway through, so I had to force myself to watch the rest of it in preparation of this list. Honestly, this film has the best opening scene of any MCU film, but everything after that wasn't that good. But it did have some funny moments. This film was originally going to be going to be number 1, but after I finished watching the rest of it, I realized it wasn't as bad as I initially thought, so that's why it's only halfway on this list. Captain Marvel. I'm sure this is the only film on this list that people can agree with me on. This movie felt like it was rushed, which it was. It has the worst plot twist I've ever seen in any film. The only redeeming qualities about this film was that it had some funny moments, and Nick Fury was naturally hilarious here, which is the only reason why this film isn't number 1. And now let's get on to the number 1, which is the only MCU film that I think is legitimately bad. Now, let's watch. Number 1, Captain America Civil War. For a while, I wasn't sure who was my least favorite MCU character, but after watching this film, I can now confirm it's Thunderbolt Ross. He was fine throughout his other appearances, but not this one. He was insufferable in this film. He was annoying and a major jerk to everyone around him. Zemo was fine in this film, but Thunderbolt Ross is the main reason why this film is so high on this list. I just noticed that he's the only thing I talked about this movie. He's the only factor about this movie I talked about. And I can see why they accused Winter Soldier of killing T'Chaka, because he did stuff like that before. He even killed JFK in the MCU. Anyways, the end. My next video is also one that's not about SML, so stay tuned. And I'll see you guys later, and most likely after the summer.